and welcome to Evolve by Erica, the podcast. I'm Erica Pulsinelli, your host, and we're here to talk about all things spiritual, high vibrational, 5D, and meditation, all the good vibes. So come on in. Hello, guys. Today I am here with one of my best friends, Mann, and I'm so excited for this episode because she's really been with me through the beginning of my journey, played such a tremendous role in my spiritual experience. And the other day I was actually at a hair salon and I saw this little picture. It was like a needle point picture and it said, "Magic found, need help." And as soon as I saw it, I thought of her because in the beginning of my spiritual journey, you start to experience these things you've never felt before and you're sharing them with other humans. And they're like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're experiencing. This sounds very strange." And Victoria, I call her Tory, came into my life during that time and literally was able to just help me make sense of so much. And it's just been such a magical friendship. So I'm so excited to invite her today and welcome her to the podcast.
I am so excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have
gosh.
you.
This is a magical moment.
It is. It really is. Like a full circle moment. I mean,
it's like a true manifestation.
Right?
Like I feel like since I met you, like I didn't know you actually told me to start my podcast.
That's so funny. I didn't know that.
Yes, but I feel like everything is so divinely organized, right? Yeah. And you always knew your path, right? So you were always gonna do this. So everybody listening, if you listen to Erica and you're like, "Wow, that sounds cool. I think I want something like that," and you don't know how it's going to happen, just trust that you have every single thing within you.
It's so true. I love that as an opener. Last night I was telling Vinny that you're coming on the podcast and he referenced you. I think you listened to that podcast and you heard it.
It's literally my favorite. I just was actually listening to it on the way coming over here, and literally it made crack me up in such a good way. Like, you guys are so entertaining and so informational.
Aww,
yes, there's so much there. It's literally my favorite podcast.
Thank you. Yes, I love that. So I told him yesterday that you were coming on. He's like, "Oh my gosh, of course." Like my first guest outside of him. And he was like, "Erica, you have so much to talk about of like how interconnected we were."
Yes.
And do you mind if I share that you and Vinny ran into each other in Long Beach?
Whatever.
Do you remember?
Share. I don't. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Whatever you feel guided to share.
So this is so wild because when Vinny was telling me this, I realized we've been connected in so many ways.
Yes.
So Vinny randomly ran into Victoria in Long Beach, actually at a meeting.
Yes.
And I'm sure she'll tell you more about her journey later. Yeah, Young by the Beach in Long Beach. And he came home and he was like, "I ran into this girl at a meeting tonight. I know her from Hofstra. I can't believe the path she's on and the healing journey she went through." And I was like, "Oh, what's her name?" And he was like, "Tory or Victoria." And I was like, "Oh, cool." I had never met you though at Hofstra, even though I did go there.
Crazy.
Right? So that's number one. And then number two, like shortly after that, my friend Helen did Tory's makeup and was like, "Erica, you need to meet this girl, Tory. You guys are going to be friends. She's going to teach you so much. You have to meet her." So that was another connection. And then you're connected to Christiana, another friend of ours.
Yes.
So it was like we were three-way connected, never knew each other. And then Helen actually brought us together.
Yes, at Christy's wedding.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's when you did her makeup. But then we met at the Vine, which is a wine bar, actually. Yes. And when I tell you the first time I met this girl, my head was buzzing the entire time I was speaking to her because of the frequency of the words she was sharing and just like everything about her. My head was buzzing. I'll never forget it. And that's the first time I ever experience like that third eye opening. So I just wanted to share how we came to be, but I really want you to share about your spiritual awakening.
Okay.
Like, just give us a little background.
A little background on my awakening. Okay, So hello, I'm Victoria. And so now I'm next level happy, but I used to be the complete opposite. I used to be completely depressed, suicidal. And even though I grew up with faith, my life experiences and what I now refer to as soul assignments, or the things that we choose to grow through, also known as the hard things in life that used to, if you were like me, they made me want to give up, right? When you feel like life keeps coming at you and coming at you, right? It's kind of hard to keep positive, even if you see other people, who are experiencing positivity. So, again, if maybe that's you, trust that you are 1,000,000% going to receive your miracle or the person you love. All you ever need is the willingness to be willing. And that is how I received my spiritual awakening. Wow. And it moves me to tears.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. So I wanted to give up, but I would see people who were happy. And I always kind of said, like, I see that it's possible, right? So I had that little bit of possibility, but it felt like, even though I grew up with faith in Catholic school, as you did as well, even though I had come from believing God and believing in faith, all of my life experiences had really broken it down so much. And I was feeling so low inside of myself, even though I was surrounded by support and love and family and friends. I had that. And I'm so grateful that I had that around me. But still inside, I felt such a deep sense of hopelessness, and especially because I was doing the things you're supposed to be doing. I, had been in cognitive behavioral therapy. I was doing the things, and I still felt really, really hopeless. And it was when I was in an abusive relationship. So I share this again to just remind us that the things that we experience that maybe feel like are the most horrible, or the things that you think you're never going to be able to forgive or get over, are actually the things that I call soul assignments, that I believe are meant to actually help course correct and align us back on our best life path. So the abusive relationship I was in was actually one of the best things that could have happened to me, because it brought me to one of my bottoms before the bottoms. And it helped me realize, wow, I need to get out of this. It made me go from wanting to quit life when I was younger to fighting for my life, right? And this was after college. So I was just trying to figure out who I was, get clear on what I wanted in life. I didn't know that that's, all of a sudden you're supposed to have an adult, right? And have everything figured out. And all I knew was that I was more miserable than ever. And I didn't want to feel that way anymore. And I felt so hurt inside, and I felt so hopeless that I was really ready to give up. But I had had other life experiences, like one of my close friends in college crossing over, and my dad crossing over when I was younger, that I also knew from my good friend Shirley crossing over, who I know is one of my angels, that life is meant to be lived, and life is short. So I had kind of started to let go of the woe is me mentality, but I didn't know where to go. And I started to talk to this idea of God again, right? And when I went to college, I got rid of God. I said, you suck, if you exist, you forgot about me. So you know what? I'm going to forget about you. But how cool, what I learned is that God, or the idea of a higher power, never turns its back on us. And also, if this is really out there for you and you're not sure how you feel about the idea of God or universe or higher power, that's totally okay. And again, all you need is that willingness to get clear on what that idea is for you, and you will. That's also kind of like when you found me on your path, like, and then you find it on your own. Like, you don't even know how you felt about the universe, and how
I had no faith.
As just Tita, right? Is that your
Tita,
Tita?
Yeah,
it's
so true.
You are it. So so I just really want to emphasize that willingness to be willing. I really started to have these conversations at my bottom, just hysterically, on the floor, crying to God, I don't want to give up yet. Like, before I quit life, if it is possible to experience happiness, like, please, 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 like, let me feel even what 5 minutes of freedom would feel like. And I started to actually be guided to, I remember my aunt had spoken to Oprah, and we always have these earth angels. So always pay attention to people who are putting things in front of you. Yes. Yeah. And so, Oprah was my idea, I guess, of spirituality. So I must have listened to Oprah, and I believe that's probably what led me to Deepak. And I had one of his books, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success.
One of my favorites.
And I remember very clearly on my bottom, and I had also found the book, The Secret. I remember very clearly reading these books. There was one quote by Deepak I feel guided to share that changed everything for me. It changed everything. And it was, the universe is proven to be in perfect order. And that means that this moment, right now, whether you like it or not, it's in perfect order.
That makes me want to take a sigh of relief and cry at the same time.
That's what it did for me.
Because it's like, wow, I could stop stressing.
Yeah.
I could stop focusing on where I want to be, where I want to go, and just be.
Let's do that. Take a deep inhale. And exhale. The universe is in perfect order.
It's so true.
You're okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Even if everything's upside down and you want to quit life like me, right? Like I was, that moment's in perfect order, and it is aligning you with your best life path if you ask it to. Yeah. And I think back to that moment, and that's all I did. I just started to open up to, I didn't know I was doing it, but I was creating new possibilities without realizing.
Opening up to the possibility of a miracle.
Yes.
That's it.
And so when I heard that from Deepak, I thought, okay, wow, and this guy is based on science. So there's truth to this. Mm-hmm. And maybe I can live. Maybe I can have purpose in life. Maybe I can take all of this pain that I've been through and turn it to purpose for somebody else. But it really, I don't even know if I had those thoughts then, right? It seemed very far-fetched, but it gave me a sliver of hope, that mustard seed of hope for me to start to ask for willingness. And I had also found the book, The Secret. Mm-hmm. And I remember and if you're listening to this, or if you listen to Erica's podcast and you're like, that's cool that you manifested your house, but like, that's not possible for me, or whatever it is, I understand, right? Like she was there with you too before she knew about manifesting. And that's why her house and manifesting blew her mind when she realized, wow, like this power is within us. Like this is really cool. Yeah. But then when I was reading The Secret, I thought it was all BS, right? Like I was like, these are fun ideas, but this happens for other people. These things don't happen for someone like me, this God force creature that everybody talks about, if there is one that I used to believe in, forgot about me. So, but if you're there, you know what? Show me, like that would be cool. And I remember very specifically in the book, The Secret, I didn't know I wasn't necessarily asking for a miracle to stop drinking, but I sure did ask for a new car. So I'm reading the book, The Secret, and I very specifically did a visualization exercise, like envisioning my white Mercedes with the tan interior, driving it, seeing my hands, all the visualizations, not knowing that, the science behind it yet, or that I needed a miracle for my own well-being in order to manifest the things, right? But I'm like, yeah, let's visualize cars. So my level of lack of belief was this. I literally wrote in the book, if I ever drive a white Mercedes one day, I'll know this shit works. Fast forward from that moment when I was on my bottom to like, I think just 2 years later or something, I had manifested the Mercedes. But that was like my house experience where I realized, wow, this stuff really is bigger than us as far as manifesting material things. And again, how cool that the material things are cool, but why it's so awesome for you to have all of the things you want and the life you want and the life experiences is that when you have everything that you want, you're going to feel your best. You're going to act more from love, and you're going to be able to be an example of what is possible for the world. So and and that's why it is so important for you listening to continue to feel good and live your best life and you have to feel the feels, and we'll get into it. I'm sure Erica talks about that a lot, but ultimately that's why I created Next Level Happy. It's how fast can we get back to our happiness? Yeah. So of course I went on a tangent into manifesting somehow, but so back to this, you asked me about my spiritual awakening. So talking about manifesting.
No, it's funny because that's a perfect segue to what I want to ask you next. I remember when I first came across your page in like early 2017, I would look at you and be like, this girl is so happy every day. It doesn't look like she stresses. It doesn't look like she worries. It doesn't look like she has anxiety. And I felt like a prisoner in my own mind and body during that time. So I remember, and that's what guided me to like reach out to you and talk to you and then hang out with you, because you looked and embodied freedom, and that's what I was seeking.
How cool that you do
that. And
a ripple effect.
Right? That's a ripple effect. And I actually want you to share a little bit about Next Level Happy.
Yes.
So how did that come to be? What is it?
Yes. So Next Level Happy came to be from the spiritual awakening. So because I had visualized that card and had the willingness on my bottom to be open to miracles, I received a spiritual awakening. So that really was the first step. And I really wanted to talk about that willingness to just really remind you that miracles are your birthright. Happiness is your birthright. And as long as you are willing to allow in the miracle, say it with me, I am willing to allow in the miracle. I'm willing to see this differently. Yeah.
I love that.
It's going to come in. Yeah. That's it. And if you're not there, a willingness to be willing.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you didn't realize how open you were, but just by asking for guidance.
That's it.
And it could be in your darkest moments, like Victoria was experiencing, or it could be in a moment of stress where you don't want to feel stressed or anxious anymore. Just having that moment to talk to your angels or something greater than you and being open to that support. Yes. It just takes so much pressure off ourselves.
That's how you did all of this, because whether you realized it or not, you were willing to see things differently. Yeah. You were over obsessing over your health things. Yeah. You were over feeling that way. And you saw in me the light in yourself, right? Yeah. And you were like, wait, I want that. I want that too. And now you're spreading that light and creating ripple effects, helping other people do that. How freaking cool is that? It is. So for me, the Next Level Happy, it definitely didn't come first, but the miracle did. So because I was so willing, the story is I went to a psychic, Paul Saladino, Hurricane Sandy. He had an appointment that opened. I was obsessed with psychics and mediums my whole life. They would always say, oh yeah, you have the ability, you are one, but I was so blocked off. I wasn't open to it. And this amazing medium tells me, he was doing what I do for people, which is seeing my soul plan, seeing the possibilities, seeing my best life path and the path that I was currently on. And that's what I do for people. I see, like a regular psychic, the path that you're on currently, but then with things like Kundalini, right? You're able to course correct and start to create the life that you want.
I have chills.
Yes. And look at those soul assignments and ask yourself, well, what did this teach me, right? What do I want? What story has the world told about myself? And, who am I really? And let me start actually living my truth and my true, I don't even want to say story, but song rather, right? Like I'm getting Dr. Wayne Dyer, right? Don't die with your music still in you. Mm-hmm. And that's, I feel like your driving force is like, and you were saying that on the last podcast, like you have that desire in you to help inspire other people and live life to the fullest. And that is how I created Next Level Happy, truly, is a lot of different experiences where I knew that the greatest thing I learned being a medium is that life is meant to be lived, that even through the healing and the ascension or whatever it is that you're going through, life is still meant to feel good. That both the duality, right? The grief that you're in, the heartache that you're in, it is allowed to coexist with joy. Mm-hmm. And the sooner you allow some of that light and joy in when you're ready, you might not be ready, right? If you're in trauma, and that's okay. But again, all you need is that willingness. So because I was willing, Spirit had guided me to this medium, and he had an opening come up during Hurricane Sandy. And he said, all these great things are going to come into your life, but if you don't get your drinking under control,
Yep.
none of them are going to happen for you. And
Like
I was
chills.
like,
Oof.
I left there and I was like, you guys, I went to this really great medium, but like he sucked because he told me I had a drinking problem and like I totally don't.
Yeah.
So yeah. Meanwhile, I clearly,
Wow.
you know, he clearly saw my best life path. And so here's how this whole situation helped me. I wanted to prove him wrong. And I said, I don't have a problem. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to drink because my idea of an alcoholic was, you know, like somebody who's drinking hard alcohol every day and not functional. And so I didn't have the problem, right?
Right.
You know, that wasn't impacting my life. So I tried to prove him wrong by not drinking for a year. And over the course of that year, it was like every day become, oh, well, tomorrow I won't have the glass of wine. Oh, tomorrow I won't have the glass of wine. And I realized over the course of trying to prove him wrong that I was never able to not have that glass of wine. And it was never a glass of wine. It was, you know, an endless bottom. And that is how I definitely know that I qualified as an alcoholic is you have the obsession, which is like I'd be at work and like making sure like how much, you know, red wine do I have left? And if I wasn't sure, I would make sure I would go out so I could definitely have enough at night because it was never just one bottle. Like one small bottle is like 4 glasses. To me, that was nothing, you know? Yeah. So I didn't have a problem though. I would just be like throwing up at boot camp, you know, when I was trying to like lose weight and feel my best, not being able to figure out why I couldn't feel good, you know?
Yep.
So I tried to prove him wrong and I couldn't, but here's where it was really helpful. It was New Year's Eve of 2013, and I had probably one of my worst blackout nights ever, and I've had really bad ones. Every night was a blackout night, and I still to this day don't remember what happened, but what I do remember is I woke up the next day feeling the best I'd ever felt in my life, not embarrassed, just completely different how I should feel after a night of doing embarrassing things.
Wait, you mean like that 5 minutes of happiness and freedom you prayed for?
Yes.
Is that what it was?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
And thank God I got a lot more than 5 minutes.
Wow.
It was there. I woke up with freedom. That's what it was. I woke up for the first time in my life happy, but still knowing something's off. Because why did I wake up at my mom's house? Who got me here?
Yeah.
What happened the night before? Then I went to my friend's house to try to start to piece the puzzle back together. They closed the door on me, weren't talking to me. And I want to really emphasize that part and thank them, because if you are dealing with somebody who is struggling, it's really, really hard to do that. But I really think that my friends shutting me out and saying, no, like, we're not going to allow your toxicity in our life anymore. I could cry, like, really helped me see, like, it helped me want to do the work. So I had received the miracle and not known it that day at that point. But the fact that...
Can I share something about that?
Yeah.
It's funny because after me and Vinny did our podcast, in hindsight, I wish I talked about that more. Like there were moments where I had to like, because I think sometimes people will see me and Vinny and think of me as like, oh, she stuck through it. But like sometimes there's so much power in being like, actually, no, I'm not going to be there today.
Yes.
And there are times where we actually broke up and I walked away from him and we took breaks, quote unquote, whatever, because those are such powerful moments. And like they had to protect themselves and they had to help you by doing that.
Safe
it's so
to
true.
Protect
it's
my
so
feel
true.
good energy. That's what I use now. I got that from Gabby Bernstein. The universe has your back. So good. I am safe to protect my feel good energy. And that's what they were doing. I mean, they were also probably pissed off at me. You know, whatever it was. But so what that did by them saying, and I've told that to people reach out to me sometimes, what do I do about this person? Because you don't want to cut them off. You feel like you're turning your back if you're the only light. But you doing that could be the flicker that helps them ignite that light within themselves, right? and also taking the pressure off of yourself, right? One of my first sponsors always reminded me, you're not that powerful, which helped me a lot with manifesting, because we are powerful, but there's always the bigger presence of God. And that's why manifesting is like a dance, like humbly knowing, okay, I trust, I'm so excited for your even better plan.
Exactly.
Even if I don't know why you're doing it, or I don't like the situation, you know what? You have a really awesome plan in place. And the other day I was having such a shitty day, right? I didn't even believe it when I was saying it, but you say, and then you get into the frequency, and then you're like, okay, I'm back to joy. I'm back in the manifestation zone. I'm there, right?
So true.
Yeah. So they stopped talking to me, and what that did was it had me start to question what's going on, and it saved my life. So instead of continuing to drink like I normally would have to just cover up, oh, what's happening, you know, let me just pick up again and to continue to go down that path. Instead, I said, wait a minute. I actually don't want to pick up that magnum bottle of red wine today. And I can very clearly see the bottle in the kitchen, remember what it was like looking at it. And for the first time, and I had that because of the medium psychic session I went to, I knew, oh my God, you haven't been able to have this feeling that you have right now for a year that you've been trying to. So maybe I won't actually have another glass of wine tonight. What if I see what doesn't happen? And that was a miracle. The miracle is the shift in mindset. That's how the miracle happened. So I still thank God. I know that angels were around me that day. My higher self came down and literally made sure that I did not pick up that glass again. And it helped me take another inspired action step, which was I felt the urge. I didn't know it was an intuitive feeling. I didn't know that then, but I got the urge to reach out to somebody I knew from college who I thought was like a crazier partier than me. And she had really gotten her shit together and had this glow to her and was so beautiful and was married and had everything that I wanted, right? And I was like, wow, okay, if she can do this, right? Like maybe I can too. Like how the heck did she do this? So I reached out to her and I was like, girl, I think I might have a problem. Can you help me? What did you do? And she's like, you know, do you want to come over tomorrow? Do you want to come to a meeting with me? And I was like, absolutely. And again, that's the willingness, right? So then I started to make sure I took action on doing the work. And I made sure I went and I drove and I met with her every single week. And I started doing, I call it soul work now. Then it was, you know, my first introduction to the AA program and step work. I think I'm supposed to say a 12-step program. But I like to say AA, even though technically you're not supposed to, because it did have such a transformational power on my life. And that is how I got better. The recipe for that, for anybody who needs, it's the willingness, right? And then 90 meetings in 90 days. That's what they told me. Which
is all about like breaking a habit, recreating new habits.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's what
I have chills.
Yeah. The next level happy.
You're able to share that now.
The mastermind.
You're able to like step into that
through that,
and share it. So, and it's exactly what I saw in her, and that's exactly what you've done for me. Like you were able, like I truly started to understand her slogan of next level happy, because I was always a person who was grateful and happy to be living, but my anxiety just really, it just crippled me. And then when I met you, that's what I saw in you, and that's what you began to share with me. And it was just freedom, exactly how you described it. And another really cool thing that was so aligned was that Victoria studied perfect health. And that's exactly what I needed help with. I needed to be able to understand that I'm in perfect health, that nothing is wrong with me, and that I could be perfectly happy every day and be grateful for my health instead of thinking that I needed to worry about it in order to have control over it. So that was just so divine that's something you studied and you were able to share so much with me about it.
I love how you're obsessed with it. It makes me so happy. And you've been like my biggest cheerleader about it from the beginning, yeah, you're such a blessing. So I should also share that at the same time that Erica found me, we were a match. So I had at the same time set intention and prayed in my journal for cool spiritual friends.
Yes, yes, I love it.
Right? So even though
this is so real.
Yes.
You know, it's so real.
So you at the time, right, were, I think we hadn't even met yet. You were probably just starting to plan your wedding or whatever was going on. And I was praying for, you know, for spiritual friends, and the universe already knew your path, right? The future version of you back then, and was like, okay, let's get these two together.
Literally. And that's how like we were so connected, but never knew each other until we did. And it was divine timing. Like I was supposed to meet you then. We were supposed to come together then. It's just so powerful.
A million %. So as I had this miracle experience, and I knew it was a true miracle experience because I had tried for a year on my own, I started receiving these downloads of making my soul plan. And I had the same reservations, right, that you probably did at the beginning when you met me, where I was like, whoa, like I was having clear memories of choosing my physical body, choosing the hard things I would go through, choosing my parents, choosing to really out there things, choosing to come to earth. Having every single person that I've ever known in life who has crossed over to the other side come through very vividly to me, giving very clear messages. And because I was a clear channel, because I did this step work, because I had started to clear all of those blocks within me. So I had opened back up to my spiritual abilities, which we all have access to, right? And that's when everything really started to get a little wild for me, because as I started to have these experiences, I was like, okay, either I am now, you know, alcoholic and crazy, or I'm gonna help a lot of people. So I was really hoping it was the second one. But I truly wasn't sure. So what it did for me, my spiritual journey, was it set me on this path where I was determined to pretty much like debunk it all. One of my first Reiki masters, Sharon Boder, actually said, she was like, you're going to debunk it, because I knew other people, right, like me, who, even if they were open, I knew at that point what I was experiencing was real, that energy healing was real. I had started to study Reiki, all of the things. I was going to any soul plan advisor or credible medium I could to study it. I went to watch, John Edwards. I would go to Pat Longo, the Long Island medium, because I wanted to understand what the heck was happening to me. And throughout that process, I kind of reached a point where I was like, all right, angels are cool. I love you guys so much. Energy healing is cool. But I needed more. And I knew that people who didn't believe to the extent that I used to not believe, right? Because my dad was a quadriplegic. I had prayed for miracles my whole life, didn't get it. And at the time that I became sober and had this spiritual awakening, remember my soul plan, I was currently doing fundraising for Cohen Children's Medical Center that I still love. It has such a special place in my heart, and Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So I would be at times, going and experiencing the pediatric, hem-onc unit, watching kids going through, these cancer treatments, watching, the heartbreak their parents were going through. And this was the time I wanted to start teaching manifesting, and you can create anything in your life. But I had this burning, how do I explain it to these people? How do I explain it to the old version of Victoria who just can't believe this, right? So I became absolutely obsessed with studying the science behind it. And I was very guided to two people. I was guided to Dr. Deepak Chopra. I was also guided to, the universe put me at Robin Euclid's Go With Your Gut. It was all about the gut health I started to be guided to. And then also, of course, Gabby Bernstein. And I feel guided to share little things just to remind people that, like, it's all intention. Like, I hit my knees. I knew when I got sober, when I went through step work, it was a feeling. It was a crazy feeling. So if you have a crazy feeling, trust that gut feeling like Erica did and run with it above all logic, because that is your truth.
It's so true. And like, I share this all the time, but I was always like a bug out. Like, I would never really do drugs or take anything because I don't like an altered state. And when I first started practicing Kundalini, you get to this altered space. And I'll never forget, I filmed it the day my body started moving involuntarily, and I sent it straight to you. I'm like, she's not going to believe this, but of course she's experienced it and believes it. So, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because when you get that feeling, when you experience something different, your intuition becomes so loud in those moments. And honestly, if my intuition didn't scream at me, I probably would have stopped because the intensity of like what I was feeling. But it was like, no, Erica, you have to keep going. You are destined to do this. For whatever reason, you're unlocking something, keep going. And it's so true. Like, tapping into that and just following that voice is so powerful. And it just becomes louder and clearer. It is hard.
It can be hard. You learn how to make it easy.
It's so true. It's so true. And I think Kundalini gave me that first experience of what my intuition is. Like, it was mind blowing. So with studying about perfect health.
So that's when I started studying.
Yeah. Yes. So like you taught me so much about that. You gave me mantras that helped me with perfect health, but then you also introduced me to Ayurveda.
Yes.
And you had me take this quiz.
Yes.
And I learned a lot about myself, because sometimes if you've ever, I literally blocked out 3 hours for this podcast because when Tory and I get together, we both have a little bit of a vata imbalance. If you couldn't already tell, we are just like out there in the sky, flying high. We could we're full of air. We could talk and talk and talk for hours. And you started to make that more clear to me. And like at times, I think like I'll ask myself, like, do I have an attention disorder, or is it my vata imbalance? Like, it's interesting because everything is energy, and like literally like that's what that could be. And then you started to teach me that like you actually, after I took my quiz, there's a suggested diet of what to follow for your dosha. She's going to tell you what a dosha is and like what vata is, and these different words that I might be saying right now that you're not familiar with, but
they feel them.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand what Deepak was saying when I first went to the Chopra Center. Right. I took a leap. I quit my job, which was crazy enough in 2016. But I felt that urge, like, you're supposed to study this and you have to be at this event. And at the same time, like you, I was not happy. I knew that there was more for me. And it kind of made sense for me to go and to do that. But at the time, I couldn't even pronounce Ayurveda. Yeah. Right? Like,
so you were just meant to be there. But don't you also think, haven't you experienced that like your soul knows this stuff?
I went for yoga and actually cried. I had like I was at Journey into Healing. They had prerequisites for the certification, which if you are feeling like you're interested, definitely reach out to me so I can hook you up with one of my friends at the Chopra Center for your certification. Mm-hmm. And because of this, so this was my driving force even back then. I didn't understand necessarily what Deepak or the other teachers were saying. I could feel it. And then something really crazy happened when I went to a radical well-being event with Danielle Posit and Deepak Chopra, where they informed me of this, and it changed my whole life. And I believe it was the same for you with me, which like when you were guided and you heard this and you're like, wow, this is possible. This is what I'm supposed to do. It's that change is possible. That world peace literally is possible. That if we get 1 billion people meditating, that they did the math. I'm not a quantum physicist, but literally if we get 1 billion people meditating, which is roughly enough people to fill the continent of India, the world will know peace. Like we will literally shift the consciousness of the world back to love. Like how cool is that?
We just need 1 billion people. So share this podcast.
We need everybody. So that was the quote at ABC Home that changed me forever. It said, if we're going to change everything, we're going to need everyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible. I love that so much. Mm-hmm. Deepak with the wisdom. So tell us a little bit about Ayurveda, the doshas, and what we could do to balance them.
Yes.
Because lately, I don't know about you, but lately I've been a bad girl. I've been eating a lot of raw food, which I love, but for my dosha, it's actually not optimal.
Mhm.
And I've been a little, what looks like, inattentive.
Well, I think that you are really good, because I think like even more important than a label of something like Kundalini or Ayurveda, it's just listening to your intuition.
Totally.
So, and you intuitively
Absolutely. It's
eat,
so true.
and you educate yourself on it.
And then I make shifts according.
And I really think that
Totally.
that's the best way. Like, even though technically it says, so a Vata, I'll break down dosha. Vata is space and air. And it says technically that, if you eat raw, that your body isn't going to digest it properly, which is true, but sometimes not. Like, you really have to listen to yourself and what you need. Like, sometimes I need a green juice raw, and that's going to make me feel the best. But when you do slightly cook the vegetables and stuff, it is more optimal for digestion.
When I first went vegan, I was doing all raw because there's a bunch of videos that could tell you it heals everything. I was on this mission to perfect health. So I was doing all raw. My gut was a disaster. So it makes sense for me. But now I found the balance. Like, I'll add in some cooked vegetables into my salads if I'm craving those fresh greens. So from what I understand, doshas are elements. Like, we have all these elements within us, correct?
We are made of the same elements of nature. So Ayurveda, how I was taught it, is Ayurveda is a consciousness-based system of healing. It's an ancient, over 4,000-year-old consciousness-based system of healing. Even Chinese medicine was derived from Ayurveda. So that's what I loved about it, was that it's the OG of everything. Yeah. Like, yoga was created from the Vedas, like the original, downloaded transcripts, that were channeled. So I love it because it's, even when they didn't have science, these teachings were proven to work. So it's a consciousness-based system of healing, and it teaches us that we are made of the elements of nature. But before I go into what a dosha is and how that works and the doshic types, I feel like the easiest way to understand Ayurveda, and this is how I've come to understand it or teach it more simple, is that it teaches us that our natural state is perfect health.
I love that. Amen. Our natural state is perfect health. Say it. Breathe it in. I love that.
Literally, breathe in perfect health. On a cellular level. Exhale it out, because our cells are constantly changing. So I loved learning about that at the Chopra Center, that literally, like, our stomach lining recreates itself every 30 days, but literally like our cells are always regenerating themselves, and through our breath and through different techniques.
I was just going to say, the body wants to be in balance. The body wants to be healthy.
And the world.
And the world. And we've been forced or encouraged to look outside of ourselves.
Yes.
And this helps us to look more within ourselves and into nature.
Exactly. Right? That's it. And remember that natural state. So the same way, the reason we say we're made of nature is the same way that the flowers don't try to bloom, the same way the birds don't try to fly, your fingernails and hair don't try to grow, right? That is the ever present power of nature, and it's infinite abundance, right? The universe is proven to be constantly expanding. Now I'm so interested in the multi-universe theory, because it matches more of what the downloads I've received, but it's just so interesting.
Let's talk about those later.
I know, right? So it's so there literally are infinite possibilities. It's so expansive, but it all comes down to this, you guys. What Ayurveda teaches us, our natural state is not just to be in perfect health. Our natural state is, for me, this was the big one, because I always felt lack of love, and people would say, just love yourself. And I'd be like, what the F are you talking about? I do love myself. You're so annoying. You know what I mean? What do you mean? But it allows you to remember that your natural state is to always feel that divine love, to remember that you're not alone, and it helps you to come back to that inner peace, that inner calm, because feeling bliss, feeling good, receiving everything that you want in life, endless amount of money, right? The universe wants every single person to be in overflow, wants every single person to being their best self. And it's just the limiting beliefs that we've learned through our experience on earth that has us believe otherwise. And then whatever you believe is going to manifest. So,
and I think we've both learned that, like, by being in that abundant state of self-love, of gratitude, of healing, look what we've been able to do. Instead of sitting home and battling ourselves every day like we used to, we're able to help so many other lives because of that. And that makes perfect sense to me, because when you are in that state of love and in that state of peace and in that state of abundance, you are able to be more generous with your energy. You're able to create the ripple effects that the world needs. We're able to reach 1 billion people so that we could reach that state of peace that we all so desperately need in the outside world.
And I'm being guided to share this, so I will, because I had this question and I feel like it will help someone. So at the Chopra Center, right, I've sat in many lectures listening to Deepak, which I'm so grateful for. And you can listen to him, or all these amazing teachers speak, in all these scientific terms. But at the end of the day, guess what? All these mathematical equations, all of these big words, guess what it all boils down to? Love.
Literally.
Love is the answer. Like, the Beatles got it so right, because
all we need is love. So true.
It all comes back to love. And somebody asked once, right, well, what does that mean, that if we have 1 billion people meditating, the world will know peace? Like, what would that ultimately look like? And I love Roger Gabriel shared from the Chopra Center, a great meditation teacher, that it would be literally like, instead of when there are these horrible things that happen in the world, like shootings, right? Like, instead of that person making the free will choice to do that, right? That all the growth assignments don't have to manifest that way. That the person who is maybe going to take the action not from love will feel the love from the consciousness around and not take that negative action. Does that make sense?
It does. And it also, like, I think about the world, and when you first started this journey and when I first started this journey, like, no, a lot of people weren't meditating. We weren't at that like collective consciousness to tap into this. We really like put ourselves out there and looked a little woo-woo for quite some time. And then like in the last few years, people are like, oh, what are you guys talking about? This sounds approachable now, Yeah. So it does make sense, because I also look at it as almost like choosing a different timeline. If we elevate the frequency on the earth, that person won't think they have to deal with their problems that way, just like we deal with our problems in a different way than our parents might or our grandparents might, because we're literally evolving and we're changing that pattern. I have chills. Exactly. So that makes perfect sense. I love that. And that was like, that was definitely a golden nugget that needed to be shared. But now I'm going to ask my question again.
Yeah, the doshas. and the elements. Yes.
Because that was so necessary, but I want to like, you know me, I love all like the nerdy scientific details. And I love all the specifics.
Well, I gave you all of the breakdowns in your Perfect Health books. You have them there.
Yes, so I can't wait.
You can geek out on it. You can go over. So your dosha, right, is your current mind-body makeup. We're all born with a specific mind-body makeup, right, that we have, that is our natural state of balance, okay? And then we have our current state, which is known as our vikruti. So your doshic state when you're born is known as your prakruti.
You're perfectly imbalanced when you're born.
That's when you're in balance. Well, it depends. So this is why I love teaching soul plans, and I love helping people understand that, because there are question marks, right? Like there, and that's what I learned at, when I worked in the HEMONC unit. I had a lot of questions about that. But yes, for the most part, we are born, right? We are completely, maybe besides for some karma, in these natural states where our chakras look like these clean mirrors. And so your prakruti, it's different, but if you want to compare it to, if you're familiar with astrology, that might be helpful. You can think of it like that, like the same way somebody would channel for you your
birth chart.
Right. Gotcha. The map of where the stars were in the sky at the exact moment of your birth. and how the planets were aligned and how that makes up who you are. This is just like a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
Same way how I channel soul plans is a different way of doing it.
Right.
So I like the Ayurveda and the doshic for the same reasons you do. It takes the woo-woo of the soul plan stuff and it kind of makes it more tangible with more proven methods for people to understand.
Gotcha.
So that's why I studied it, because I knew that people would gravitate towards that just as I needed to. And so the doshic, it's the state, the different combination of the elements, right? So the different doshic types are, and we all have all of the doshic types within us. So there's only 3, so don't worry. We're not going to be here forever. There's 3 types, and everybody has a little bit of all of them in it. And then there's 5 elements that make up the doshic,
Gotcha.
the doshic types, right? So we're made of the same elements of nature, and then all of those elements have different characteristics. So the more familiar that you become with, okay, the Vata dosha is made up of space and air, right? So as I'm speaking, right, I'm noticing my mouth is getting dry. What quality does space and air have? Dryness, right? So if you're
or sometimes like burping, right? And clearing.
That's good for clearing.
Yeah.
That's good for clearing. Yeah. Like any negative energy or whatever it is, or it brings you back to your natural state.
Gotcha.
Is probably why you like that. You can probably feel yourself like coming back. But yeah, extra air.
Yeah, extra air.
Yeah, extra air,
right.
Releasing. So it brings you back to your natural state. So then there's the mind composition and then the body, right? So since I'm already speaking about Vata and I'll go through the different ones, we're just going to stay on this for a minute. So the Vata dosha, there's Vata, Kapha, and Pitta. Vata dosha is made up of space and air, and the 5 elements, it's space, air, earth, water, and fire, right? And so if you're familiar with the elements that make up Vata, you're going to be able to identify the way that you are more familiar with now, noticing, well, how do I know if I'm having a Vata imbalance? And then how do I, it's called pacifying the imbalance. How do I come back into balance? And this is why I created Ayurvedic alchemy, to make all of it like much more simpler for people, because my experience with it, and again, this might not be everyone's, but my experience was that it was a lot. And I also wasn't so interested in the nutrition part, which is more people are familiar with Ayurveda for that part, with balancing the food, whereas I more gravitated towards it because the science, and because I love how it teaches us that we can transform the energy of our body, right? And like literally like do these tangible things that intuitively we can return to our natural state of balance. So every day it's kind of like, well, how am I feeling? What do I need? What elements are kind of flaring up in my mind and in my body, and how can I pacify them to come back into my natural state of balance? Does that make like a little more sense?
Definitely. Yeah. And I feel like the symptoms that I experience as having a little bit of a Vata imbalance is like in the mind, that inattentiveness,
ADD,
sometimes literally feeling like I'm not even here. Like I'll have a conversation with someone and I'll leave, and like there's been times where I forgot where I parked my car because I literally just went somewhere else. Yeah, literally, because
you channel. You're so
that's another thing.
You're so open in your Vata, but thank goodness you have the Kundalini and you come back to your body.
Literally was just going to say that, because the other physical symptom I would have a lot was really poor circulation, very cold toes and hands. Yeah. And I know that's a sign.
Yes.
What are some other signs of like a mind and body imbalance? Yes. You don't have to go through all them, but just like give us 2 maybe.
I'll go through them briefly. So wait, just for Vata though, for people to understand.
Just for Vata. Yeah.
And I'll go through the other ones too quickly, but just since we're talking about Vata already, the different dosha types also have different physical characteristics. So a physical Vata body type is someone like Kendall Jenner, right? Like I'll look at somebody like Kendall Jenner. She's just a good example, like a supermodel, like tall, thin, right? Like lot of space and air going on in there. An example of a Pitta body type, and Pitta it's mostly fire. There is a little bit of water in there, but it is mostly fire. And so an example of a Pitta body would be like someone sporty, like a tennis player or someone like
more athletic build?
I feel like, yeah, like a solid, like a combo, like you're a great combo.
My numbers are like very close. So
yeah,
the Pitta and Vata are very, very, very close.
Yeah, you're definitely Vata Pitta for sure. And then like how it comes into play is because so I'm Vata Pitta too, but then why I would want to know my Vikruti, right, is because lately I was doing a lot of emotional clearing, and I felt like I was having a Kapha imbalance in the mind. And Kapha is earth and water. So think of the elements of earth and water when they're mixed together. It's heavier, right? So a Kapha mind imbalance is like feeling depressed, right? And then there's things you can do, like uplifting music, like different things to bring the doshic state back into balance. So just to go back to Vata, since we like Vata and we're there. So Vata is space and air, and a Vata imbalance in the mind is ADD, right? That's what I have, where there are a million thoughts going on, you get easily distracted, but it's also great for entrepreneurs and creatives because you get great ideas.
So many ideas.
Yes.
So many ideas. I love that.
But then you gotta balance yourself, reel it in so you can take action. So you do a great job of that, 1,000,000%. And so then Vata. So an imbalance in the body would be, hello guys, when I know you've experienced this, when you travel, if you've flown in an airplane, it's extra dry up there in all of the space. What's something that might happen to you when you travel? You might get a little constipated.
Okay, yeah.
We're going to talk about it.
That used to be a problem
That's
for me.
Vata body imbalance.
My whole life. And then now it's totally not a problem.
Because you're
Things
balanced.
are moving.
Because you're balanced and you're
I saw it so clearly when I started living this life.
So good. So that's also why another great way to simplify all of this for people is I was drawn to gut health, right? Because my takeaway from studying Ayurveda was, whoa, our gut microbiome has the same receptors as our brain, and literally so there's different ways to it. My path was clearing the energy blocks, clearing the limiting beliefs, right? But you could also have spiritual awakenings, right? Approaching it from the gut first.
Totally.
And come into balance that way and find happiness that way. So, there's all different ways. So that's really cool. It's all about keeping your digestive fire great, which is why like ginger is awesome to consume daily to kindle that, because it will keep your gut fire strong, but it won't spike up the fire in pittas, right? So if you're a pitta doshic type, which how you know you're a pitta doshic type.
Can I say one more thing before you go into that? I love my favorite things about your Instagram stories are like how you mention your imbalances and what you're specifically doing to bring them back into balance. Because you know me, like my life path is really about like healing, not only through meditation, but foods, and that we have the power to heal ourselves. And I love when you do that. You're always bringing ginger in.
I feel like I should do that more because I didn't realize I was even doing that.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like, I talk about it's like soul.
It's a divine expression of yours. Like you embody it, so you don't realize.
Because
that's what I love to say.
On my path, I had such a struggle with understanding and how do I implement now all of these amazing tools that I learned. I had another spiritual awakening when I got certified, when I was studying Ayurveda, because I was like, all of the tools I received sent me into another spiral where I was just like, you
just received so much information on your own and through your studies.
But guess why that happened? That's when I created Ayurvedic alchemy.
Right.
So I was like, okay, people need something more practical. People need something tangible. And I had already received the download Ayurvedic alchemy, but it was like, oh, this is what it is. This is what we're doing. We're going to make this tangible for people.
For people to understand.
Yes,
totally.
Exactly. And just in case you're listening to this and you're like, how do I do this? How do I balance my dosha? Great news if you're part of Erica's Evolve exclusive, because you're already doing it.
Yeah.
Because there's a shortcut which is balancing the vata dosha, which we'll get to. Because if you balance the vata dosha that we were just talking about, that space and air, it's a loophole. It balances all the doshic types.
Don't you feel like Kundalini is a shortcut for everything?
I do.
Okay, so going back to doshas.
We're
up to Pitta.
Yes. Yeah. So this helps you stay in your natural state of balance if you are going through that wild ascension process.
Right.
Or sometimes in spirituality, they call it like a dark night of the soul, which is when all of the trauma comes up, or some people will, do ceremonies using medicinal medicines to have it all, come up. But it's clear, the sooner you clear all of those things that you've been pushing down your whole life, all of those old stories, limiting beliefs, the sooner you're free. But it's going to be when you're ready. And that's what I find is divine time. It's like your soul makes you a plan, but it all happens in divine time. So maybe this is the divine time for you guys with doshic types. So the vata, space and air, an imbalance in the mind is going to be that ADD. How you're going to bring that into balance, right? Is what I find the best thing is actually the way that you balance all of the doshas, which is what you're doing in the Evolve Exclusive, which is a daily meditation practice that works for you. Okay. Because when you have routine, it is the routine that balances the vata dosha.
I feel that so deeply.
It balances it so good. Like for me personally, I've just found that like this is the way. Yeah. So the way that it became easier for me was, and I received a clear download, and that's when I created my programs, which is like when you have that routine in place, when you're actually going to implement, right? Like if you don't like emotional freedom tapping, or if you don't like meditation or Kundalini, maybe you're into angel cards, maybe you're not, maybe you want to just do a gratitude journal, but like start somewhere with that routine and let it catch a momentum.
I love that.
For yourself, right? So if you balance if you show up for yourself with a spiritual routine, you will naturally stay in balance pretty well. Like I think that really is one of the strongest ways, because your meditation practice will keep you in your natural state. And I didn't touch on this. So Ayurveda, the recipe for Ayurveda in general, it suggests 20 minutes of meditation in the morning, 20 minutes of meditation at night, some yoga stretches in the morning, a little bit of cardio, and eating a prana-rich diet, which is the vegetables, right? And all of the foods that have that life source energy in it. So think foods grown from the earth, foods color of the rainbow. Yeah. But then you'll have some issues come into play, like Erica was bringing up, where maybe you're, if you're, prana food, I love it, I'm feeling so good. But then your digestive gut, I feel like you had a strong digestive gut when you were consuming it. The stronger your digestive gut is, the more nutrients you're going to be able to extract from whatever it is that you're eating to turn it into energy. So I feel like that was fine. I honestly think that you were just supposed to learn how to balance it, to teach it to other people, like really and truly.
Because I'm so interested in
yes. Yeah, really and truly. I believe that's what it is. And yeah. And then so an imbalance in the body is something, one example would be, constipation. And again, the way that you would balance that, I think a good thing is actually incorporating like a little bit of oil is good. Like some people think they should eliminate like all oils from their diet. I don't necessarily. Ayurveda actually suggests a little bit of ghee.
Yeah, I was just going to say ghee is huge in the yogic tradition.
Yes. But if you don't eat animal products, right? A good substitution. Sahara Rose teaches a lot. Coconut oil.
They make a vegetarian ghee now, or a vegan ghee at Trader Joe's, which has coconut oil, avocado oil, a combination.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'll have to try that one, because I've been using the regular and I'm like kind of like shying away from it. Like I didn't really enjoy its taste so much. But what it does is the ghee, I've noticed it's the same thing as there's a technique in Ayurveda called Abhyanga, where you do self-massage or use oil on the body. And it's kind of like the same idea as oil pulling in the mouth, where it removes the toxins, right? So it's like, I'll do that work in Soul Boot Camp and like the Next Level Happy Mastermind, like taking people through it on paper. But like there's so many ways you could use Ayurvedic lifestyle. And if you're living an Ayurvedic lifestyle, it naturally keeps you in your natural state of perfect health. And you'll naturally stay in balance, right? So again, the recipe was the 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night of meditation. It's the routine, right? So that's why if you're in the Vault Exclusive, you're already doing it, right? You have it. And do you have any more questions about Vata before we go?
No, okay. I'm excited about Pitta.
Okay, we'll do Pitta and Kapha really quick. So Pitta and balance, you're definitely Pitta too though, because your business comes supernatural to you. You're A-type, meaning you're like on time. You're
I don't think I'm A-type, but thank you.
Well, in the sense of like having your shit together.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got my shit together.
Being good at what you do.
Thank you.
Executing things. Yeah. Okay. 1,000,000%. They're the go-getters, the one who, but like a true Pitta is like Sean's a Pitta, always on time, like need to know, the next step, like everything like planned out. Like that's very, very Pitta personality. Whereas I am not, I strive to be more on time and all of those things, but I'm not exactly that Pitta. My Pitta comes into play, unfortunately, when I have a Pitta imbalance, which is I could get a little aggressive sometimes, and then I know stay away from the hot food. Okay. The hot foods will also cause internally like a body Pitta imbalance. Could look like heartburn. Like a lot of people, think like heartburn's just cause of the food, but there's a lot involved there. It's really excess fire, right? That's going on in the mind and body, excess heat. The whole world right now is actually in a Pitta imbalance is what's happening.
Sounds right.
Yeah, that's what's going on.
Sounds correct.
We're coming back into balance.
Yeah. And so it's like fiery.
Very fiery.
Okay.
Very fiery. Like when I know if I'm being short-tempered, whoa, girl, sit down. You're having a Pitta imbalance.
Yeah, I could get that way too. Yeah. So I could definitely tap into that Pitta at times. And all of a sudden you like see red and you're like, who the hell is that? Yeah. What just came over me?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
That's what I know. That's why I love Tulsi tea, because the Tulsi tea is holy basil. Foods like basil and mint are super cooling and will balance you. Nice. And if you're like me, I at first like poo-pooed this stuff because I have a very addictive mindset as an alcoholic. And I was very I was on antidepressants and I used to have to take so much Xanax. Thank goodness I'm off of everything now. And I'm all about using all of the tools that you need to come back into balance. But I forgot what I was even just saying, because that's Vata.
No,
just about Pitta. About
just how you could like get angry and super fiery from that.
You can get angry and super fiery from stuff, but it's good. It helps you. Oh, this is what I was saying. So from somebody who used to take antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication, I was like, there's no way an herb, like there is no way basil or mint, a little bit of mint in my smoothie is gonna cool me down. Like I like exactly was my reaction. Like I was like looking at everybody at the Chopra Center like y'all are funny. Yeah. I'm going to In and Out. Like, like I had a lot of questions.
You're so funny. I feel like this whole lifestyle and practice helps you to tap into the subtleties.
Yes.
And you become like, yes, if you tell someone who's doing, who's taking medication like you are, like that the mint is going to calm them down. Like that.
It's hard to believe.
It's hard to believe. And guess what? They might not be there yet. They might not need that. Just like you said, like they might need what they're taking. And eventually, as you open up more.
I needed more than mint.
Yeah. Kundalini is like the potent stuff. But as Russell Brand would say, it's the crack cocaine.
It is.
It's like, bam.
It really is.
It opens you up to those subtleties though. And eventually, those herbs can work for you. But at that point, it's just, you may not be there yet. And that's okay.
Right. And as soon as I opened up, I did start to feel it. As soon as I started to open up to the possibility, like I started to feel, oh, wow, that actually did really help me. That's freaking interesting.
Also, though, the placebo effect. I think the placebo effect is like 50% effective, or like pretty wild, maybe even more. They say the percentage in the Heal documentary. I forget what it is, but it was mind blowing. And I hate how we like poo-poo the placebo effect, because it's like, if you just say like, oh, it's just the placebo, like what you're saying is, oh, I'm not that powerful, or like, oh, I'm so powerful that like, yeah, whatever. Like,
I
hello,
love the Healed
placebo.
documentary.
Like, placebo is you being so effing powerful. Like, let's just hear it for that. But the reason why I'm saying that is like, if I want to know the healing benefits of everything before I consume it, because by knowing it, it's going to activate that within you. So if I'm adding mint to my smoothie because it's going to cool me down, it's going to make me feel grounded and calm, and I'm drinking it with that intention, I'm going to experience that.
Yes,
like,
1,000,000%. But how cool that there is the science behind
exactly.
it that shows you how it works. And just since you brought up the Heal documentary, because so powerful,
it is so powerful.
This is a really cool example of the power of the mind that I'm being guided to share, which is, it was a kind of like a really powerful moment in my own healing journey, was watching the Heal documentary, and which is, everybody should watch that 1,000,000%. And there is one story on there, I don't know if you remember, about a quadriplegic.
Yeah.
I was very fascinated because my dad also is a quadriplegic, and the example in the documentary, he had the same surgery as my dad and he walked again, and my dad didn't. But different life paths, and the soul plans definitely came into play here. But I was so fascinated by this example because, do you want to know what the difference is? The difference was, this guy knew about what we're teaching. He knew about the power of new possibilities and energy and like all of that healing work, right? So but true. I also believe that everything is in divine order. Of course. Even if my dad had those tools or been open to it, I don't know if his path would have been any different, right? Exactly. But how cool that people can walk again. I'm just obsessed with it. And like how that mindset shift can create such huge miracles.
And it builds such faith, and the faith is what drives the miracle because you believe.
Yes.
Ooh, goosebumps. Yes. Okay. Anything else you want to add about pitta?
No, that the other physical reaction besides heartburn is breakouts. If you have acne, right? If you start to get acne flare-ups, like when I have acne, yes, hormonal, but I'll know immediately if or rashes. If you get a little itchy, like I'll get this itch on my arm or rash, it's all pitta imbalances.
Because I used to get so itchy.
If you think you have a lot of, and this stuff gets a little controversial, but like I've come to learn that like autoimmune stuff, arthritis, a lot of it really can, it's just balancing the
Could
dosha.
Be a pitta imbalance.
It's just balancing the dosha. Wow. Usually, like it's really crazy. Most stuff is stress related, like fibromyalgia, like a lot of things that people, are suffering from. I also think it is part of people's soul plans, like overcome it. But if you do have something and you're feeling hopeless, like just be open to the possibility that you can return to perfect health, that is your natural state. Yeah, you can literally breathe it into existence. How cool is that? So
true. Yeah,
that's a pitta. A healthy pitta is, organized. I feel like you're a good example of like a healthy, organized pitta. Like you have a good balance, I feel, of living in your divine feminine energy, but still using the masculine to get things done, which is important. And you don't want to keep going, doing because you'll burn out, right? And we want to stay in perfect health.
And the more you describe this, the more I feel like in the past I was way more tapped into that pitta energy. Like and now it has come back into balance, and we have this whole lifestyle to thank for that.
I created in the Next Level Happy like masterminds, like literally why I created it was for myself. And I'm going to share with you two of the biggest ones I had to instill was I'm safe to slow down. And I had to repeat that to myself literally. I still do. And it took years and it felt really unnatural at first, but it's affirming. I am safe to slow down. When I rest and slow down, I get even more done. And when you start to feel how that works, how the law of least effort works in your life, oh my gosh, right? Like, it's magic. It's that magic. Feeling of tapping into magic. You allow the pure potential energy back in, and you're not wasting energy on, on spinning.
Doing, rather than flowing.
And spinning the wheels.
True.
Exactly. So it's really cool stuff.
I love that.
Yeah. And then, so pitta again was the fire with a little bit of water, and then kapha, the third doshic type, is made up of earth and water. So again, think about like the qualities of earth and then water, and then when you combine them, it makes like that like heavy mud. So like an example of a kapha type, I always use Oprah. Oprah is a great example of a kapha doshic type, and they're usually like very like more like nurturing and very grounded and centered. So
I feel like I want to give a kapha a hug.
Exactly.
That like just made me want to hug somebody.
You feel their hug.
Yeah.
Even if they're not hugging you.
Yeah. I just did. Thanks, Oprah, for that
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that so good?
Wow.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Do you know who I also think is a kapha? Based off that, Jade, our friend Jade. I should have her on the podcast
I love
too.
that.
Just because she feels like a hug. I wonder if she is.
I feel like she's a good doshic person, a good combination of all of them, because she definitely is, but she's definitely kapha,
like grounded, and
also like, vata. Yeah, I'm curious what hers is. I wouldn't be surprised if she's like an even combo, and for sure leading with the kapha. She's a great example of a grounded kapha, 1,000,000%. I love that. Yes.
So what does an imbalance look like there?
So an imbalance with kapha would look like, in the mind, it looks like depression. So for most of my life, even though my natural, my prakruti, the doshic type I was born with, is vata pitta, when I used to be massively depressed, and I took a doshic quiz, it would probably come up that I had mostly a kapha imbalance going on in my mind. And then at times, because we store things in the body, a kapha imbalance in the body will look like if you're overweight, like usually, like just holding on to heaviness. I've spoken to you about that before. When I feel like I'm holding on to things in my stomach, I'm like, I need to release these emotions.
I totally was.
I think
that was last year we felt that way, that we were holding on to a lot. I think that was like post-COVID. I say that loosely because I don't know if we are post-COVID, but like after 2020, I feel like we both felt that energy like in our belly that we were holding.
It's a lot, because we were all, and still are, we still right now, like I'm just gonna say it, like, can we rip that band-aid off just really quick? It's fine. We're all experiencing trauma right now to some extent. If you are turning on the TV or putting on, going on social media, even if you have a beautifully I know that we have feeds where we literally have it so it's positivity, but even if you do, there's stuff you're gonna see that might activate you, or if you can use the word trigger, right, make you feel some kind of way. And it's important to protect your energy more than ever, and not shut it out, but like listen to what you need, because you have to take care of yourself. And staying in this negative, depressive mindset, constantly only speaking and seeing it's hard. Sean will, tell me stuff, or I'll see things here or there to keep myself aware of what's happening. And, I've said, please don't, like, sometimes I have to protect my energy because I'm doing my own healing work, and it's a lot.
And we're trying to hold that higher frequency for the collective, which what we believe is healing and elevating, so that we can ascend from the realities, in a sense, of what we're seeing in the here and now. And not that we're not in reality, we're just visualizing that
world peace,
I guess. And that higher consciousness plan and hope.
Yes, because if we had that, the 1 billion people, and we will, and it will be so great, and how awesome that we don't even need 1 billion people to make a miracle, that the miracle is happening right now. And can't you guys just feel and imagine how awesome it's going to be that everything is like ending, and everything is coming to a peaceful resolution, and everyone in Ukraine and innocent people in Russia and everywhere are safe, and and everything is so good. So again, why this is all important is one goal: world peace. We got this,
literally,
guys.
Right? On a grand level. So true.
We got this.
Thank you for going through all of that, because I love, at first she was like, okay, I'm going to try and make this fun, because it's like, a lot of details. I'm like, no. Like, this nerdy stuff is so fun to me. And I know they love it too. Like, it is so, like, my eyes just like widen, and it just gets me going. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I need to like tap into this more. So do you want to share anything else about Ayurvedic alchemy? Because you actually trademarked that, right?
Yeah. I trademarked Ayurvedic alchemy just because it's the method that I created to help people. And really, I feel like we shouldn't be attached to anything. So especially if like when I trademark something, I also made sure I detached, right?
Yeah.
Obsessed with the laws of the universe and the laws of detachment. So I detached from the name, but I created this method that I channel to help people make Ayurveda more practical to use. And really what it is it's an easy way to find the resources that you need to balance your dosha. So if you're like me, and maybe even if you are into learning about your doshic type in Ayurveda, if it seems overwhelming, or if you're like me and you're not into the food part of it, right? What Ayurvedic alchemy is, it's an easy way. It's essentially transformation through love. It's just an easy way to come back to that natural state of love, come back to that natural state of perfect health, come back to your natural state of balance. And what it is, and you've experienced, it's a meditation, and it's designed, right? It uses all different techniques. It uses sound healing if we're in person, aromatherapy. It stimulates the senses, right? Pranayama, breathing with the breath work, it activates Kundalini energy sometimes, and it's different for each group, right? Like I might channel a different Kriya to be part of it, sometimes emotional freedom tapping. There's so many different techniques to help you come back to your natural state of balance. So this one particularly, and I know you're obsessed with this too. So what I love that I also learned at the Chopra Center from Deepak is that it's our set. I used to have these questions. Where do our thoughts come from? If our thoughts are creating our reality, where do our thoughts come from? They come from our sensory experiences, right? And the stories we believed over time. So how cool that if we create a new sensory experience, we can start to stimulate new thoughts, right? Create new emotions, new beliefs, right? About it, and elevate the experience to tap into those infinite possibilities. So I use breath work, I use sound healing. Essentially, it's what I'm guided, and I teach other people how to do this too, to channel what the client needs, to channel what the group needs in that moment, to create a beautiful retreat experience, a sensory experience, to come back to your natural state, to help you get clear on who am I and what do I want. And at the very least, right, if you're not open to this, it makes you feel blissed out, right? You'll leave feeling that peace and that happiness that I used to crave so deeply, that I used to think was impossible. And so now that I understand the science behind it, it's definitely from above, because I'm not that intelligent, right? I am an intelligent person, but the universe is ever intelligent. And like, that's what this method does. Like it takes people from the state that you're in, and it lifts you up into the ethers, right? Into the Akashic, into that space and air, the infinite possibilities. So you can remember your soul's plan, your higher self, or your team of spirit guides, whatever you're open to. You're going to have the experience that you're open to for your best experience and your best life path that you're ready for in that moment.
So powerful.
And then we take a dip into releasing some of that fear. So sometimes it's an amazing Kundalini Kriya. Sometimes it's emotional freedom tapping. Sometimes it's just the words and the questions to stimulate a memory. Sometimes, loved ones who have crossed over will come through for healing. It's whatever is needed so that you can find the peace that maybe you weren't even aware wasn't there, and return home to your natural state of love. So we dip in to do the healing work, and then I take people back up to the natural state, because we don't want to stay stuck in all the healing. We want to get back to happiness so fast.
I love that. And I've gotten gift cards for friends to work with you, and a lot of people who I work with have worked with you as well, and everyone just has such an incredible incredible experience, such a transformative experience. You are so living your dharma, doing what you're meant to do, and helping so many other people.
I love you so much.
I love
This
you.
was so much fun.
Wait, do you want to pull a card before
Oh
we
my
end?
gosh, yeah. Let me pull a card for the group. I meant to do this
Okay.
at the beginning, but yes, let's pull a card. What message does this group need for your highest and greatest good of all? And the message that I'm hearing before I even pull the card is people need to know that it can be easy to transform your pain into your purpose. And yeah,
Yep.
Erica can testify.
And we've both done that, right? It is
Let's
so
see.
powerful.
Okay. What card does Erica's listeners need? Let's see what cards come up.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Yeah, and if you need clarity on your purpose, the Evolve exclusive has you can do a soul plan session.
Yeah.
There's so many ways.
So many ways.
Can hook you up with the Chopra Center if you want to get certified in being a health coach. I gotcha. Or if you want to teach Ayurvedic alchemy, this is a card for them. If you want to teach Ayurvedic alchemy, we are doing it. Okay. My fearless.
That's
was
what I
that
was
yours?
setting intention for.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We'll share these
That's why
One
they fell out.
for me.
I'll do yours after too. My fearless freedom lights up the world. Hold on, let me hold this in front.
I feel like both of these are for the world right now.
It is.
And this is the one that I knew we were going to get.
Peaceful resolution and a beautiful rainbow. I mean,
and look at the butterflies, and she's holding the whole globe.
It doesn't.
Peace.
Oh, the butterflies. Yes, it doesn't get more clear than that. So, wait, Erica.
Perfect.
Erica.
Another one.
Guess what card popped up? This one's for Vinny though.
Stop it
And
again.
and for anybody watching.
Oh my gosh. Last time she pulled a card for me, Vinny's mom came through too.
But you can't make it
I'm
up.
so
They just
grateful.
pop up. So this is the card that came up during when you came on to teach at the Sober Curious Challenge. And when I told you that
It's unreal.
I saw his name
every
on
time
the live, and I knew
Didn't it come up again?
It came up
after
again, and I
that?
was gonna message him, but I was guided because it wasn't in the moment. So I was like, you know what? I'm like, if he's meant to get the message, it'll come through again.
Heaven is watching you, and a mom kissing the sun.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Mother
Mama.
Teresa. So cool. I love it.
Wow.
We could do this all day.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I'm so grateful
Are
for
you next level happy?
I'm next level happy. And I'm so grateful for you. And I'm so beyond grateful that our journeys let us
Me
together.
too.
So grateful to be able to have this platform and come together in this way and share everything you do with all the listeners. And
thank you
you're
for
just
answering your
amazing.
call.
I love you.
Thank
Thank
making
you.
the world a good
Thank
place.
you.
And thank you for everybody who listened and just raised the consciousness of the world too for peaceful resolution.
Amazing.
Doing it.
We'll end with a longtime sun. May the longtime sun shine upon you. May all love surround you. And may the pure light within you guide your way on. Satnam. Thank you for
Satnam.
joining. And if you want to follow Victoria, just share your handle so they can follow you.
At Victoria Manifest with 2 N's. MANN.
I love it.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
And nextlevelhappy.com.
Yes.